I woke up one morning and I looked at myself in the mirror and I couldn't even recognize myself. I was quite frankly disgusted with who I was. Hey, it's Robert again. Super excited that you decided to watch another one of my videos. My name is Robert Harold. I am going to get down to the dirty of the dirty today. All right. We're going to be talking about my past and where God has taken me from because I am so thrilled that I'm not there anymore. And viewer discretion advised, this is going to be a PG-13 plus type of video, but I really want to share with you just how ugly my life really used to look and where I am now. One of the ugliest times of my life was also on the surface appearing to be one of the greatest. When I first quit my job to do real estate full time, I was living in Baytown at the time and I was on top of the world. I finally was able to quit my job and go full time into real estate. At the time, I was making about 20 grand a month, which was an incredible income for my age. And yeah, it looked amazing to the outside. I was successful. I was moving up in life. I actually, shortly after, moved to League City. So I was able to rent a three-bedroom house on my own. I was able to buy a new car, and everything was just looking fantastic. But on the inside, there was so many internal battles happening. One of those being marijuana. I was heavily addicted to smoking weed for many, many years. I started smoking weed when I was in high school and it just carried on throughout my adult life. I probably battled with that for about 10 years. And I'm talking about consistently smoking weed from sunup to sundown, going through about an ounce a week. For those that know, that is a lot. And that was a comfort thing for me. And so I really loved it at the time. But that was something I was dealing with. Another thing that I was dealing with at the time was alcohol consumption. I didn't really have a problem with alcohol, but it definitely was consumed a lot more than what was considered normal. I was partying almost every weekend, multiple times a weekend. I mean, I'd wake up and feel hungover more nights than not. I also was really battling pornography at the time, and that was an issue that also lasted, 10 plus years. I mean, that was a real stronghold that I really had to deal with. Not only that, but I know I just keep saying also, man, it's crazy. There were so many things, but I also was dealing with me wanting to hook up with multiple women, and I had a real interest in being a playboy. And so there was just so many things that I kept trying to fill my life with to create some sort of satisfaction and fulfillment. That went on for a while. I probably went on this cycle of these vices for maybe 4 years. Um, and I remember there was one day that I was living in League City and I woke up one morning and I looked at myself in the mirror and I couldn't even recognize myself. I was quite frankly disgusted with who I was. I was 30 pounds overweight. I had bags under my eyes. My room was an absolute wreck. There were clothes everywhere. There was weed everywhere. My house smelled. And I just looked at myself with such disgust and I said, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I think it's very interesting that God allows us to go through these really low moments of just being so broken and disgusted for us to realize that none of the things that we try to fill our lives with will ever satisfy us the way that Jesus does. And so I want that to be an encouragement to you that there is hope. And if you go on this search of finding God, you'll realize that the ultimate fulfillment is in Jesus. You know, many people try to fill their lives with different things other than what I mentioned. For some people, it might be shopping. For some people, it might be the pursuit of fame. For some people, it might be hoarding riches, right? I mean, there's so many different things that people can try to fill their lives with um, to create some sort of fulfillment or happiness. But it really takes you getting to a low place like I did for you to realize that none of those things would ever satisfy you the way that God does. And I wish I could say that from there, everything just got easy and I found God, but it didn't work out that way. That was the beginning of me like coming to realization like this is not working for me. And then from there, I began to go to church again. I began to try to seek God, and I ended up rededicating my life to God. It probably from that moment, it was about a year and a half for before I really decided to rededicate my life back to God. Um, and then even from there, like things still were not easy. Like I still battled with a lot of those things, and God didn't immediately take those away, which was frustrating. What it did though was it held me accountable to being close to God. In the Bible, Paul talks about having a thorn in your side, and that there's sometimes things in our lives that are difficult to overcome, and there's challenges that keep us in sin, but also at the same time keep us accountable to God. And Paul says, the things that I don't want to do, I do. And the things that I do want to do, I don't do. And he's questioning himself and God, like, why do I continue to struggle with this specific thing? And I think God allows us to struggle with certain sins and certain vices to keep us accountable to relying on him. And so that's what happened with me. But a lot of those stories are for another day, but I really just wanted to expose like the ugly side of where God has really taken me from and how he's delivered me from a lot of those things over time. And so I hope this video encourages you that you're not the only one that goes through challenging times in your life. My story might look different from yours, but I'm sure there's similarities and there's things in my story that you can relate to. And so I'm just so glad to be able to have a platform now to share these sort of things and to give people encouragement. Like, you're not alone. Your struggle with pornography, your struggle with suicidal thoughts, your struggle with drugs, like, you're not alone in that, and there are so many other people that are experiencing that, but thank God that there is freedom in Jesus. And so I just wanted to leave you with that. May the Lord bless you and keep you. I love you so much.